commonly called Sophia Park, after the community of Sophia, which was a thriving community in the early 1900s. The year was 1935. The nation, along with the farm economy, was just starting to recover from the Great Depression. Real recovery for the rural economy would not be seen until 1939, when the United States entered World War II. Just for an example of the prices at the time, the milk price paid to farmers in 1935 was 46 cents a hundredweight. Wheat was 2 cents, oats 5 cents a bushel. Gas was 10 cents a gallon, stamps were 3 cents, and the average income was $1,731. But despite these hard times, the Vernon County Board was going to go ahead with plans for creating a park. The 40 acres in Sophia had been purchased previously by the county as a possible WPA project. So WPA stands for Works Progress Administration. This was part of President Franklin Roosevelt's New Deal programs. They're often called the ABC programs, and they were to put people back to work during the Depression. According to a news article from the time, if the county's request was approved, quote, much improvement will be done in the park, besides taking off the taxpayers approximately $3,500 of relief, as these men who the park would employ must be certified off the relief rolls. And I'm sure the men would much rather be working than on relief. The park adjoined the Rintz family farm and became called the Rintz Memorial Park. A park board was created in 1935, and Mr. Albert Larson was appointed park superintendent. According to Mr. Scholas, the park board president, quoting, the land was mostly beautiful virgin forest with many beautiful springs coming out at the foot of the hills, end quote. So the county applied for a grant from the Wisconsin Rehabilitation Corporation. They wanted to widen the swimming area and to build a dike to prevent flooding. So the federal government provided $12,000 for development. According to Mr. Scholas, many area farmers use their teams to haul hundreds of loads of ground from the swimming area to construct the dike. There was no expense to the county because the farmers were paid under another federal program called Feed and Seed Loans. The work on the park was under the supervision of the Soil Conservation Service, the SCS. This was another federal agency established to assist farmers to conserve their farmland through improved farming practices, such as terracing, contour plowing, and reseeding with native grasses. The SCS marked trees that could be harvested safely without endangering the rest of the forest. So work on the park continued in the spring of 1936, when timber was harvested, dams were built, and the streams were riprap. In 1937, 20 more acres adjoining the park to the north were purchased for $700. Imagine what that would cost today. One of the first gatherings at the park was a meeting of the SCS, the Soil Conservation Service. Over 5,000 people attended, and the guest speaker was none other than Governor Philip La Follette. The locals were delighted and proud of their new park. So it was no surprise when the following editorial appeared in the local newspaper shortly after the park opened in 1935. Quote, word has come to the censor that a great number of people are abusing the privileges at the new county park in Sophia. Refuge and garbage are left on the ground for others to pick up. Only 1 out of 10 know how to camp. We wish to lay down a few rules that should be carried out at each picnic. When you have finished, pick up paper plates, cups and watermelon rinds, etc. And if there's no place to burn them or deposit them in cans, take them home with you. The writer has seen people who would be complimented to be called swine. Appoint yourself personal guardian and call attention and try to educate those who violate their privileges. So it's easy to forget there was a time when people routinely dumped their garbage in the ditches, which thank goodness is in the past now. Mm-hmm. So people have to get used to taking care of the public property. Mm-hmm. On most Sunday afternoons, baseball was played at the Sophia Park. It became headquarters for the South Ridge baseball team, and in 1948, the Vernon County Board approved a lease with the team. Fundraisers are held to enable the team to purchase and install lighting and bleacher seatings. On some nights, there were over 3,000 fans. But by 1953, pro baseball became widely televised and fans started to dwindle, and baseball at Sophia was over. So Sophia County Park is 7 miles northwest of Veronica. It's located along the banks of the North Fork Badax River, just off County Highway B in Jefferson Township. The park is 140 acres with rustic camping as well as electric campsites. There are 3 miles of hiking trails and a trout pond stocked by the DNR each spring. There's a picnic shelter with the use of an indoor kitchen available for large gatherings. The next park is the Sidey Hollow Lake Park. Sidey Hollow Lake began as a watershed project. In 1962, Wisconsin had set aside $50 million for the creation of permanent lakes in southwestern Wisconsin. Governor Gaylord Nelson noted that this area, quote, is the only part of our state that is now totally void of lakes and therefore deprived of the scenic swimming, fishing, and boating pleasures that are afforded to such waters, end quote. Under the National Small Watershed Act, the federal government paid for flood control dams on approved projects and would also pay 50% of the cost of improved dams, with the additional cost for easement and maintenance paid by the county. If the county wanted a higher dam, which would allow a lake to be formed, they would be responsible for 1/2 of that cost. Interest in the lake soared as local organizations pledged funds towards the county's cost, and in 1963, the Vernon County Board voted to allocate $4,500 to the Vernon County Soil and Water District. Supervisors to the county's total of the project. 490 acres were purchased, and in 1963, work began on the park. Despite many setbacks over the ensuing years, Sidey Hollow is a beautiful and well-used park today. It is currently 521 acres with a 38-acre lake, which is fed by 2 cold water trout streams. It has fishing piers, a boat launch, a playground area, and there's 10 miles of hiking and biking trails, as well as rustic tenting and full electric and RV sites. The next park is Blackhawk Memorial Park. It's a 2-acre park on the Mississippi River with 500 feet of the Mississippi River frontage. It was created in 1960 and is located on Battle Island in the southwest Vernon County, 2 miles north of DeSoto, a mile south of Victory. It is named after Chief Blackhawk, and this is where Blackhawk and his band of Sioux and Fox staged their final stand against the U.S. military, who were pursuing them. On July 31st, 1882, Blackhawk and his followers fled to first Rising Sun and then on through Retreat, Red Mound, and Victory, ending up on Battle Island. There is a historic marker listing the dead. And next to Blackhawk County Park is the wonderful Blackhawk Recreation Area, which is operated by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. And that in turn is surrounded by the Upper Mississippi National Wildlife and Fish Refuge. So it's, although Blackhawk Park is tiny by itself, it's surrounded by this huge Blackhawk Recreation Area. So it is certainly worth visiting. Jersey Valley Park. Jersey Valley Park is 371 acres. It's 3 miles north of Westby. It had a 52-acre lake, and it was a large flood control dam on the Peaceful Valley stream, headwaters of the West Fork Kickapoo River. It was created in 1969 as one of the 22 Vernon County water-based flood control dams in the U.S. It was a popular swimming, picnicking, and fishing destination. Since its construction, it has suffered major problems. The lake was drained in 2005 when the DNR ordered it closed due to leakage in and around the hillside. A $4 million community development block grant allowed repairs to start in 2009. But heavy August rains caused the earthen dam to be breached and the lake was again drained. So it currently still provides a picnic area and a playground, and there's hiking trails, but there's no swimming or fishing available at this time. In 2014, Derek Johnson, a young Eagle Scout from Veronica, built a concrete sidewalk and 2 accessible fishing decks at Jersey Valley, which are very nice. So you can still picnic there, but there's no swimming or fishing. The next park is the Duck Egg Park. And interesting thing about Duck Egg is it's a horse park. You can take your horses there. Duck Egg Park is a county forest. It's located 9 miles west of Veronica on Irish Ridge Road. Duck Egg was the last of the 8 area dams. Purchased in 1990 to build a flood control structure, the 707 acres were transferred to the Parks Committee once the dam was completed in 1997, and the county board approved development of the park into a rec area with horse trails, a parking lot, trout stream habitat, and restrooms. The forest is managed for long-term timber use by the Vernon County Forest Administrator. Duck Egg is open to the public for fishing and hunting, hiking, and horseback riding. So if you go to Duck Egg, there's beautiful horse trails, but there's also trails for pedestrians, so you don't have to walk on the same trail if you don't care to. The next forest, so Duck Egg Park is a county forest, and Vernon County also has the Coyumgee Lost Creek Forest. Coyumgee Lost Creek is a 120-acre Vernon County forest. It's located between Lafarge and Hillsborough off of State Highway 82. There is a fenced parking area with public access for hunting, fishing, and hiking. The area was donated to Vernon County in 2002 by Thomas and Edith Coyumgee. The Vernon County Parks Committee oversees the project for woodland management, education, research, and as a demonstration tree farm. The Coyumgees from Park Ridge, Illinois, purchased the 240-acre farm in 1987. The 120 acres they donated to Vernon County make up the western half of the property. When they purchased it, much of the land had been heavily pastured, and they desired to return it to its natural stage by planting it to trees. The Koyumjans were instrumental in the formation of the Badax chapter of Wisconsin Woodland Owners of Wisconsin, which covers the southwest portion of Wisconsin. Then there's the Rung Hollow Lake. Rung Hollow Lake is a 44-acre lake located on County Trunk Y between Westby and Viroqua. It was created by the Rung Hollow Dam, a large flood control structure. It was built under the Watershed Protection and Flood Prevention Act by Vernon County Conservation District of Wisconsin, with assistance from the Vernon County Board and Soil Conservation Service and the U.S. Department of Agriculture. In 1974, a boat launch and an accessible fishing pier are managed by the Vernon County Parks, and a recreation easement with the current owners allows access to the dam and much of the eastern shore of the lake. It is a very popular fishing area. And our newest park, our newest county park, is the Wayside Park. In 2011, Vernon County joined with the state and multiple other organizations, many of them local businesses, to create a multi-use trail between Westby and Viroqua. The asphalt trail can be hiked or biked. Inline skates and skiing are permitted, as are electric wheelchairs. It is a popular year-round trail and offers people a choice of walking or biking between the two towns instead of driving. The new park, which is halfway between Westby and Viroqua, is a stopping place for people who are using the trail. Formerly a state wayside, it has restrooms and water as well as picnic tables. And that's the brief history of the Vernon County parks at this point, Lacey.
Okay, wonderful. How about a round of applause for Veronica? Yay! That's so great. Veronica, thank you. I, for one, being local and then having moved away and moved back, I have known most of these parks since I was a young girl, as have most people, since it seems like quite a few of them were dedicated in the 60s and then 70s. So I'd imagine that quite a few people watching this episode today are familiar with a lot of these parks. I wanted to just briefly mention a few notes that I wrote down to recap some of our memories here. So when I talk about the park, I usually call it a Sophia, but in your research, it says some of the correct pronunciation for it is a Sophie. Is that right?
I would go with your pronunciation, okay, Lacey. Like you say, you're local. I'm not. Oh, Sophie, but I would go with your pronunciation.
Yeah, I just thought that was so interesting. A Sophia, I've heard it said many different ways.
Well, that's like, is it genoa or genoa?
Genoa.
Yeah.
Right.
So my father-in-law served in World War II, and the town he was stationed at was Genoa. And so when he visited us up here and he saw it, and we called it Genoa, and he said Genoa. So,
right. Exactly.
Wherever you put the accent. So I don't know the correct pronunciation. We've just always heard it called these Sophie, but
okay. Hey, to each their own. So at this park, I agree, there are such beautiful springs there. It's really quite lovely, such a lovely park. I didn't know that it is one of the oldest parks in the county too. I mean, 1935. It's quite a while ago. I loved hearing that 5,000 people attended the opening ceremonies for this park. That is a lot of people to travel into that rural location to get
Yes,
to that park to celebrate.
and I think the Soil Conservation Service was proud of the job they did, and they were showing it off, I think. And it must have been quite a feat because the governor attended also. So
yeah, Governor La Follette.
yes, Bill La
Wow.
Follette, yeah.
He was a very important person at that time to have visit into the rural driftless hills. So that's
the son of Bob La Follette. Yes.
yeah. And I can say that the North Fork Badax that flows through the park there, it is so pristine and beautiful. And oftentimes when I'm at this park, there are many trout fisher people, people fishing for trout there on that portion of the Badax. So really fun to see people recreating and enjoying there. Also an update for the park, not that I have any official capacity to update, so this just comes from being a resident of Vernon County, is that I've seen that they put in new bathrooms there, new bathroom facilities over the past year. So it makes the visit to the park very accommodating.
Nice and necessary.
Yes, and necessary.
That's the thing. I mean, if you go to parks a lot, the bathroom facilities at state parks are excellent. And I'm just really glad to see the county parks are improving their bathroom facilities as far as showers and stuff. I mean, years ago, and I imagine it's related to lack of monies, but years ago, you never expected showers at county parks, and you were just glad for a bathroom.
Right.
But yeah, they are improving, and so I think that's great.
Yeah, absolutely. Kudos to all of the minds and thoughts and energy and finances that go behind that. So kudos to those taking care of the parks.
And you know, nowadays, parks get a lot of use nowadays, especially with the COVID.
I could say a bit about that too, certainly.
But
so,
there's many county parks. You know, if you find that the state parks are overcrowded, there's many fine county parks in every county that are little used. So we often we'll go to a county park like on a weekend because it's much less crowded than a state park.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. I know that I spend quite a lot of time visiting Sidey Hollow Park, being that it is close to Viroqua. It's what, 5 or so miles you were saying outside of town, but it's even, I'd consider like walkable distance from Viroqua. But I go out there, like I said, very often, and I have seen the numbers of visitors increase so much over the past couple years. And I think in part that's really lovely. It's really wonderful. People seem to really enjoy visiting that park. It's close to town, and they can also camp there, which is great. I was just out there over this past weekend, and I'd say that the campgrounds are full of people.
And it looks like they graveled the trail. Looks like, so
yeah,
that's nice. Yeah, because sometimes it's a little muddy, but
yeah, there's certainly a lot of upkeep there. There are nice playgrounds out there. They've been planting different trees, which is also nice. There's also a mountain biking trail now at Sidey Hollow, which I see a lot of people using. Interesting though, when I walk with family members who have lived here for quite some time, and I listen to them tell their stories about Sidey Hollow, they talk about how it has changed just with the environment, or the nature there has changed quite a lot since before it was established in 1963 and the decades following that, and now present time. So I could imagine that people who are watching that know of the park since the 60s or the 70s or 80s, and they go to visit now, they'd notice there are some differences. trees go out in some places and trees regrow in some areas. And of course, you get different vegetation growing in, and also the new trails. So
Yes, and City Hollow used to have a beach, but
I had heard that.
it didn't work out apparently. You
Yeah.
can still swim there. I know there's a rope on the
Mhm.
far side of the park where you can swing out into the water. You still see people swim there, but it doesn't have the beach that it once had.
Yeah. You know what I see a lot of there at Sidey Hollow are people kayaking and
Yes, a lot of
canoeing.
kayak.
Yes. So I
Yes,
see
and
that's.
you can't have a motor, I don't believe, but
Mhm.
just a fishing boat or a kayak. Yeah, you see a lot of those rainbow colored kayaks now.
Yes, it's really nice to look over the lake. If you're standing on top of the dam and to look over the lake and you see all the different aquatic birds, but you also see these bright colors of different kayaks and canoes and even stand-up paddle boards. If you see a stand-up paddleboard out there with a little white dog on it, that's me.
And Lacey, you probably know the Veronica school goes out there. What class is it that goes out there?
I believe that they enjoy, the Veronica area schools enjoys going out there for cultural enrichment days. And that's where they take out the different grades and have special fishing permits to enjoy teaching the children how to fish. I can't speak to any official capacity of that, but that's my understanding of what happens there. And they do that towards the end of the school year. So that's nice that people are still learning how to fish and that the kids get a chance to try something new. Yeah, that's so sweet. You know where else the fishing happens that you also mentioned, and where there's also a rope swing, is at Rung Hollow Lake. It seems like that lake is a bit smaller in acreage, but I've also heard that there is good fishing there.
Yes, yeah. Well, I think Run Hollow is the one where it's mostly privately owned.
Right. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, it's a 44-acre lake,
Mm-hmm.
and the most of the area around it is privately owned, and they have an easement, but they have a boat launch and an accessible fishing pier, and so it's mostly used for fishing.
Yes. Yeah, and we definitely want to steer people in that direction. We do not endorse any swings at any parks at all. I just want to make that clear. But yeah, fishing it's really great that they've opened that up so that people can enjoy all the different fish in the area. I've been eating some local fish and they're tasty and delicious, and it's really a lot of fun. So I encourage any sportsmen out there.
Have you been catching them lately?
I have been eating them more than I have been catching them. But I can say that I learned how to fish when I was younger. But then when I wanted to, have a springtime hobby, I guess, or a sport, I actually checked out books from McIntosh Memorial Library. We have a nice collection of books about fishing and how to fish and Wisconsin fishing and what kind of fish that you can find. And I can say that I learned how to tie a fishing knot by reading a book. So there's that. So if anyone wants to check out some fishing books, we have them here for you. And then I wanted to touch on Duck Egg County Forest, a newer park, certainly 1990, 707 acres. I enjoy this park so much. It is, and I've even once gotten lost.
Really?
It's a big park. And I would say that maybe I was, wandering a little bit, but on a new trail, and the trail, was a very late fall, nearly winter. And I think some flooding had happened and I was pretty well out there, and but I found my way regardless. But it was a little bit of feeling like I was on an adventure and knowing that I'd end up somewhere on a county road somewhere and I could figure it out from there. But So wonderful to be out there. And as you mentioned, lots of saddle clubs will come, or just private, residents with their own horses. And it's always so wonderful to see the horses out there and people enjoying that.
Yeah, and I don't think horses are allowed at any of the other parks, do you?
Not that I'm
I
aware of.
think, yeah, I think they're only allowed at Duck Egg, so that's nice for, yeah, they have a nice parking area where you can bring your horse trailer, load your horses and unload them, and
Mhm.
yeah, you always are looking for places to ride your horses.
Mhm. Yeah, it's wonderful. They have a space to do that. And yeah, it's just nice to see the horses too. What I also like about this park is that you could walk for maybe a mile, mile and a half, and you get to two smaller ponds that are very, very nice setting. And if you keep going, you've got to go about another mile-ish, I bet, to get to the dam. And then it really feels like an immersion. Like if this would be a great half-day hike to really get out there. Wonderful places to picnic straight away. The other parks are great for easy in, easy out. But if you want to like really get into the nature a little bit deeper, I would say that Duck Egg Park is the one for you. And they have done a fantastic job of putting up new signs across all of Duck Egg. I feel like they've mapped it out really well. You can really, find your way through there with all the different signs that they've put up recently.
Yes, and it does seem more wild, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Like you're out
Yeah.
in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, it definitely does. It has always felt like it's been a little bit of a secret, but hey, it's there for people to enjoy, right?
And your tax dollars are paying for these parks, so go out
Yeah.
there and enjoy them.
Absolutely. And also the one that I haven't been to, I wanted to mention first, Blackhawk Memorial Park. So nice that there is a park for us right on the Mississippi River. It's really great. The fish that I've been eating most recently have been coming from Blackhawk area.
Oh, okay.
So I can say there's bluegill, smallmouth bass, largemouth bass, and the crappies as well. It's really wonderful. That's attached to the wildlife reservation.
Yes, what's it called? Upper Mississippi River National Wildlife and Fish Fest.
Mhm.
Oh,
And also to to mention too that the history there, and that there are historical markers at that park. And then note, they're also posted throughout that portion of the county. And just to
yes,
say
the
that
Blackhawk Trail.
that I personally think that there's a lot of merit and value for people to know the local history and for whom these lands are. What lands are we on? So I just wanted to mention that as well, that I think one of the valuable pieces of being able to enjoy that park is to also understand and to acknowledge the history of that area and the land of who were there. So just wanted to mention that. But the only park that I haven't been to is Koyunji, Lost Creek.
The forest, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I have not been there either.
I have heard really nice things about this place, and it's interesting to know that it was given as a gift from local residents to the county, and then the county has opened it up to the public in this way. So a little bit like, wow, I'm really fascinated to get out there.
Yeah. And they use it for education and illustration, how to bring the land back after it's been savaged. So
Interesting. Yeah. I there's a local organization, Valley Stewardship Network, that does a lot of work that we just spoke to last Friday in the last Friday conversations, Valley Stewardship Network. And it's a local organization that's working a lot towards similar intentions to reestablish and to replant natives, which I heard you mention back when we were talking about a Sophia was about reseeding native grasses, and how in 1935 there were government organizations and private organizations that found the importance in that, and for managing the water resources here and the land resources here, and making efforts for conserving and protecting native plant species here. And just to kind of wrap it back to present time, is that those initiatives are still happening. So it's an important issue that's almost timeless.
Exactly.
And you know what else is timeless is picking up your garbage. So I remember that you were mentioning that during when we were talking about a Sophia, and I think it's still very, very relevant today, right?
Yeah, although you don't nearly see the garbage disposed of in ditches as you used to. And that's what Lady Bird Johnson, Lyndon Johnson, President Lyndon Johnson's wife was famous for, improving the highway, the ditches in the highways. And so, yeah, you don't see too much garbage dumped anymore in the highways.
Oh, interesting. I did not know that was former First Lady, Lady Bird
Johnson. It was one of her pet projects.
Yeah,
beautifying the countryside. So.
That's so interesting. I learned that today. Well, I certainly think that it's a good thing that there's been strides made for that. You know, the don't be a litter bug. It seems like the parks are pretty well taken care of around here.
Yes.
And
I think people think before they throw stuff on the ground nowadays. I think they think, and they usually put it in a garbage can. And, you know, you teach your children that, and so I think our parks are much cleaner than they used to be. But it is interesting that way back in 1935, they're lecturing about don't be swine.
Yes, we could even like bring that back around maybe as a new hashtag, because that's what they use these days, right?
And I've noticed, like, if my husband and I are walking around Sadie Hollow, it's not unusual to see the person ahead of you picking up garbage and putting in a plastic bag and then dumping it in the trash. I mean, people do not like to see garbage in their parks. So
it's so true. And I have a bit of an announcement to make here, that it comes from the people who also put a lot of energy and effort into keeping our parks clean and organizing programs and events for the parks. And that group, the name of that group is the Friends of Vernon County Parks and Forests. And so that group is a group of local citizens, residents of all ages, and they work with the park staff and other park volunteers to celebrate, protect, and preserve the Vernon County parks of this driftless area. This organization began in 2019, and they have had many events and also work days in the parks. And I'm going to read off a list now of some of the different events and work days that they've had in the parks and that they continue to offer. So if you're excited to get out into the parks and you want to do that with some other like-minded residents and individuals in this area, these events are open to the public to attend. What has already begun is an event that they call Yoga in the Parks. This is offered every month through October. The group also organizes the events Music in the Parks. So this is happening over the 3 months of this summer. They have just released their announcement of all of the different bands that are going to be playing outdoors at the Sadie Hollow Park at the lower park ground. So the one that has a lot of parking for people to come. And then the musicians are really well known in the area, and some of them are actually quite famous. And so this is a by donation event open to the public. They also offer guided winter walks and bonfire, noting that over 300 people came out this past winter. They have a Sighty Stomp with Vernon Trails, guided spring ephemeral hikes. Ephemerals are a type of flowers unique to this area, and they go on the hikes and they point out the flowers, just perfect for springtime. Those are still happening on Saturdays. They have the Spring String Thing, and that's music happening in the parks this spring. They work with the county shepherding a flock of goats and sheep to graze invasive plants in the parks. So I just want to take a moment to talk about this one. There's a volunteer opportunity with the shepherding of the flocks and of the goats. And from what I understand is they really do need volunteers. And in that volunteership, a person goes out and you check on the goats to make sure that they are there and that they are happy and well. And it's more of like a monitoring situation. And the goats are and sheep are out there really doing what they do best. They are eating and eating up all of the invasive species. So this program is really about, keeping the native plants safe, I guess, protected, and taking out the invasive plants that are doing damage to our local ecosystems. And in order for this goat and sheep program to continue to exist, they do need volunteers to help with them. There is also the geocaching challenge in the parks, and this one is great because the library is also involved in this. So essentially what you get is a piece of paper that has all of the 8 parks listed on it. And then you print that off, you head out into the parks and you use compass to find a hidden box. And in the hidden box is a tile, and then you use a crayon that's also in the box and you make a print on your paper. And then once you've collected as many as you want, you mail it or drop it off at Verroqua Library, and we'll save it. And at the end of the summer, the Friends of Vernon County Parks and Forests are doing a big drawing from those submitted passports, and they're handing out prizes, really great prizes for everybody. So that's a really fun one to, if you like scavenger hunts or if you like to find treasures. So that's a good one to get involved with. And then briefly to wrap it up, the Friends group also works with trail clearing and tree planting. So that's really getting into taking care of these wonderful parks and forests. If you want to learn more, and they're also looking to expand their board of directors. So if you're interested, you can visit their website at www.vernoncountyfriends.org. And they also have a group on Facebook. So a big round of applause and a nod to the Verroqua, or excuse me, the Friends of Vernon County Park and Forest, and also all of the staff that are employed at the different parks and forests that work towards that, maintaining these wonderful spaces for us all to use. That's wonderful. Do we have any final remarks or any questions from the audience?
I would like to make a final remark, Lacey, and it's just that all the information about the camping is on their website. So you just Google Vernon County Parks and you'll get the number of camping sites, the hours of operation, who to call if you have any questions. So it's just excellent, excellent resource.
Yeah, certainly. And I bet that would apply to reserving a shelter as well. Yeah. Great. Well, I feel like I'm ready to get out there to the parks and enjoy, and especially interested in visiting the Koyamji forest that I haven't been to yet. Thank you so much, Veronica. As always, so lovely to have you here today. And thank you to everybody who's been able to join us. We look forward to next time. A reminder that the McIntosh Memorial Library is open now for people to come inside and to pick out their own books. The library is open Monday through Fridays from 9 a.m. until 6 p.m. The library is also open on Saturdays from 9 a.m. until noon. Computer services remain available. And we really look forward to having you back into the library with us again soon, Veronica. Thank you so much. And I hope everybody has such a nice day.